the robotics market is supposed to be about 15 billion by 2030 and $1 trillion by 2040.
But does it still feel very, very early stages?
It's very early. The US went and invested into 10% of their company. A lot of people think that when a stock goes up 500%, it can't double, triple, quadruple from here. This one absolutely can.
On the other side of this, there's a little bit of fear. Robots are kind of taking over a lot of those functions that have been jobs.
AI and robots and how they team up together, that is what starts to make you feel like they're eliminating jobs.
Keith, so great to have you back on the show.
Great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the audience loves the conversation about robotics. There's so many investments to be talking about in robotics. Let's talk about how many new companies we're starting to see in this sector, because there seems to be a lot of growth.
It's so many. And when you think about the fact that the robotics market is supposed to be about 15 billion by 2030 and $1 trillion by 2040, there's a lot of up-and-comers and there's robots everywhere. We just don't always realize that they're out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of different industries coming. And I know we talked about 3 great names last time you were on,
yes,
just a few weeks ago. But people were asking about small cap companies and some of those smaller stocks that have a lot of growth potential. You have a list of 3 different
yes,
companies for us today that I'm excited to hear. So let's just get started with that first company on your list.
You got it. So the first one is Ambarella, ticker symbol is AMBA, and they are part of the brains market, the AI chip market. So this is bringing intelligence to robots. What's really cool about their company is they create something called a fabless semiconductor. This is what's known as the edge AI market. Think about a house that's off the grid. You have to have your own septic system, your own well system for water, solar system, and batteries. You're fully off the grid. These chips are off the grid. They're not reaching out to the cloud and getting any sort of internet access. They are low power, high definition video compression and image processing chips. So if you see a drone in the air, they might have one of their chips in there doing all of the processing local for that chip.
Very interesting. I love the comparison about a rural house, because that's very familiar to me. So it's a great comparison. Let's talk about different competitors out there. Is there
yes,
other people in this space?
Yeah, so not really. So a lot of times you think of NVIDIA being in a space, and there is some risk with NVIDIA, but they are focused on these high scale, high definition sort of computing systems that are massively scaled compared to a little chip inside of a drone. Now, NVIDIA could eat them up, but I actually think what's going to happen is NVIDIA will look to acquire this company at some point. So Ambarella is a $3.5 billion market cap. They're actually about 20 years old. This technology is a lot newer for them, and you're seeing it in autonomous vehicles, drones, robots, and it's because it's this self-contained thing. Now, NVIDIA goes after a much larger market. So some of Ambarella's customers are places like GoPro, Garmin, Motorola, Ring, and Nest. I think there's going to be some competition from NVIDIA, but I actually think that what's great about this company is it's a perfect acquisition candidate for NVIDIA.
I think you see that a lot with these small cap companies too. Investors need to be prepared for that a little bit. I want to talk about, I think what was interesting that you just said, this company's been around for 20 years.
Yes.
Was this a pivot for them? And that's why they're seeing a resurgence right now?
Yeah, so they have been creating some semiconductors for that long, and the reason they're called fabless is because they don't fabricate them themselves. They just create all of the technology on it. So they used to sell their technology to other companies. Now they're creating their own chips, but they can do it in a much more low-cost way because they're not creating the facilities to manufacture. So they've been around. They're a big player, and I think they're going to become huge.
So interesting. Again, not having that manufacturing piece takes away a lot of the risk. Probably doesn't have a lot of debt on the books either.
Absolutely. So, and they're not earning any money right now. You know, they don't have earnings, but they definitely are growing. They're beating the earnings estimates. And I think they're just going to keep getting major investments from different companies to help get their chips into other companies' profiles.
All right, really good first company to talk about. I like this one too. I'm excited to get to the rest of your list. But at first, I want to talk about this report that you and your team have been working on, because you are kind of the robotics expert. I know you spent a lot of time diving into this field. And if you want to check out his report, make sure to scan the QR code now or click the link in the description of this video. This is a list of 10 stocks, some of them small caps, really high growth stocks in the robotics field. Again, if you have followed our recent video with Keith, his team has done so much research on this, so it'll be really interesting to check out. All right, Keith, let's get on to that second name on your list. I'm really excited about this one because it's similar to another name we've talked about on this channel before.
This one is as tiny as they get. And before we bring this up. Last time we spoke, we talked about this company and why I like them so much. And then the US went and invested into 10% of their company and the stock doubled overnight. So this company is Lithium Americas Corp. They are really what we talk about with the muscle. It's the rare earth elements that help to create batteries that are part of robots. It's actually a Canadian-based resource company, so it's shocking that the US was investing in them, but it's because they have this flagship Thacker Pass project that's in NVIDIA. It's poised to become the largest lithium carbonate producer. And lithium is super important right now. It's for EVs, batteries, and lithium carbonate itself creates a much lighter battery, and you can do it much more efficiently, cheaper. So that's why this mine is so heavily looked at. And with the US, as we talked about last time, they're so worried about China. And so the US wants to rely on the US for these minerals, but China has the dominance right now. So US is freaking out. This company, the earnings have been okay. They're not profitable, but they have these partnerships like General Motors, and now the US has these major needs. So I think this one's gonna soar.
I think this is an interesting one because one stock we talk about on our channel all the time is AMPX. I'm curious to see, is this a competitor? Are they doing different things?
Technically they are. So AMPX creates lithium ion batteries. These are lithium carbonate. So they're a little bit different. So you use lithium carbonate for lithium iron phosphate, LFP batteries. And so they have a little bit of a different applicability, but they both can be used and deployed in the same spots. AMPX is much bigger. There's kind of the 900-pound gorilla in the battery space. And so with this being a lithium carbonate miner, I think they can sort of complement each other with where they go, but yes, AMPX is definitely a competitor.
Very interesting. I also think it's important to talk about how much growth this stock has seen. Is there a lot of growth ahead for some of these companies that might get that kind of investment, that kind of big growth overnight? Is there still a long runway for these kinds of small cap stocks?
Oh, absolutely. And so with this company in particular, it's only about a $1.5 billion market cap right now, $750 million before the US took its stake. And just knowing how the US is freaking out, there's no reason why this stock couldn't go up 50x to 100x. That's only a $150 billion market cap. So I don't see why this company couldn't go up big time. Now, one of the, when we talk about competitors, another sort of competitor are future solid state batteries and so forth. So I think there's still a lot of room to run here, and there's a lot of applicability, but like any tiny company like this, it can have a lot of risk too.
Yeah, that's a thing to remember for all of these small cap stocks, right? A little bit of risk in all of these, but this is where a lot of growth comes too. So that's what our investors like. That's what our viewers like a lot too. Let's get on to that third company. I'm excited about this one.
Yes, we talked earlier about this. I am so excited about this company. What's wild about this company is it was a $5 billion market cap last year, just 12 months ago. Now it is a $25 billion market cap. It's up over 500% in a year. A lot of people think that when a stock goes up 500%, it can't double, triple, quadruple from here. This one absolutely can. It's Rocket Lab USA. I'm sure that this has been on your channel many times.
Yes, this is a name we've talked about.
Yes, and a lot of people think about it just as a pioneer in a space economy, which it is. It is the bodies and brains when it comes to robots because it's creating AI chips, it's deploying these basically satellites out there, it's getting into space, and they do a lot of end-to-end work. Space launches, satellite technology, automated manufacturing. They're working on being able to manufacture in space. 3D printed engines, AI optimized assembly. They are getting faster and they're driving their costs down when they do that. So if you just think about the fact that they have a $1 billion backlog, they've had revenue growth of 36% year over year, and they are going to be a massive player in the space economy, and they're going to get a lot of infusion.
Yeah, there's so many follow-up questions on this one. I want to talk about their space in robotics, but first, take robotics out of the picture and just looking at the number of launches that they're having. I think that is what has really fueled a lot of growth for Rocket Lab. Is the number of launches, the demand for launches seems to be growing quite a bit.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And they're positioned for in-space assembly and fueling, as I was talking about, and really Mars missions. So they have a whole lot of different companies behind them. But what's really cool is that NASA's using them. US Air Force Space Command, DARPA, Black Sky. I mean, it is unbelievable the amount that is behind Rocket Lab itself. NASA contracts. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good partnerships here. Let's talk a little bit more about their role in robotics, because I think this is an interesting discussion point as you're looking at other companies that are in the robotics field. We talked last time a little bit about drones as a part of the robotics story, Rocket Lab as a part of the robotics story. Really, when you talk about the robotics industry, are there more companies like this in different areas to look at robotics?
Yes, there absolutely are. So when you think about robotics, there's a whole bunch of companies out there that are doing little things that you would never picture as something big. There's sort of that last mile for food delivery. There's a company called Serve that I know people have been asking about online. It's a very tiny company, and this isn't a recommendation, but it's a really cool company when it comes to robots, because the most expensive part of food delivery is that last mile. And so you imagine these robots just going down sidewalks and delivering food. There's a company that is doing French frying, and they can work 24/7 at frying French fries, and they can do them better than any human being could ever do. So robots are everywhere from just, frying French fries all the way to getting you in space and building these engines in space.
Yeah, that's really exciting to see that robots are doing things so well. The fries that you mentioned, that's a great storyline. But I think there's, on the other side of this, there's a little bit of fear of where's the space for humans in this, as robots are kind of taking over a lot of those functions that have been jobs.
Yeah, it's really scary. And when you think about AI and robots and how they team up together, that is what starts to make you feel like they're eliminating jobs. And a lot of the pluses part of that is sort of that cobots, that cobotics that we talked about last time, where you have robotic assisted surgeries. Very precise, gets them right, the cuts are smaller, everything's precise, and a human is there observing. And the human just kind of becomes more of the liability, at that point, and they're making sure the robots are doing their jobs. But you have things like teachers. I get worried about this because we're going to lose a lot of human interaction when robots can come in and AI can come in and help teach your children. You have doctors. You'll get sometimes much friendlier, better assessments from AI and robots together. If you're going to the hospital, instead of waiting 8 hours, you can get triaged right away, figure out what's going on. Lawyers are being outsourced to AI. And so you think about all of these different things, and it does feel pretty scary. We humans are sort of at the helm of that, and I hope we don't create this big chasm where you either make under $50,000 or more than $10 million, because you're either creating the AI and the technology and the robots, or you're just kind of there and facilitating.
Yeah, really good point. A lot of discussion's going to continue on this topic, I think, because
absolutely.
I think the last thing to talk about is it feels like we're still at the early stages of this. We do have robots everywhere. There's a lot of different places using them right now.
Absolutely.
But does it still feel very, very early stages?
It's very early. When you think about the fact that a humanoid can cost $200,000 just to create, but then what it produces for you is very small. That type of idea, we have so far to go for robots to break through. Autonomous vehicles, though, that's a different story. Tesla's been doing it. A couple other manufacturers are doing it. That is big, and that's kind of affordable now. And so there's these different places where, yes, we have so far to go, but then when you think of drones, autonomous vehicles, little robots on the sidewalks, those are a lot more affordable, and they can start to get scale now.
I know you've done a lot more research on robots and the robotics industry. There's so many different stocks out there. Your report, you definitely want to check out, because you have a list of how many stocks on there?
10 different stocks.
Yes, and these are all in the robotics sector. These are all stocks that are going to see a lot of growth. So you can scan the QR code now or click the link that's in the description to access that report right now that Keith and his team have done a lot of research on. Again, these are 10 different names, all in the robotics sector. A lot of them also small caps that are going to see a lot of growth as this industry continues to grow. Keith, thank you so much for continuing the conversation on robotics and this area of investment. It's been great to talk to you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes, and thank you for watching, everyone. Let us know in the comments what you think. Are you in any of these names? Do some of them surprise you as robotics names, or are there other names that you are looking at in the robotics field? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching, everyone. As always, happy investing.